Welcome to episode 158 of Bible Talk, a podcast brought to you by 9 Marks and Southern Seminary. 9 Marks exists to help pastors build healthy churches. Southern Seminary exists to... what does it exist to do? Southern Seminary exists to educate, train, and equip gospel ministers for a lifetime of more faithful service. For more, you should visit 9marks.org/talk or sbts.edu. My name is Alex Duke, and with me are my two friends,
Jim Hamilton,
Sam Amati.
All right, so, if you watch this online, we're in the same clothes because we,
and we're in the same seats.
And we're in the same seats because
You're in the same hat.
We did 2 episodes today.
That's what I was thinking about last episode when I was looking at your hat. I was like, that's going to be recognizable.
Yeah. I bought this hat on January 2nd, 2013, the day that the Louisville Cardinals beat the number 3 Florida Gators in the Sugar Bowl.
Nice.
I was in New Orleans, and I went to the game. First play of the game was a pick 6 by Terrell Floyd. Anyway, wish I had that good of a memory about other things in life. So
I much prefer this seat. I'm not looking back and forth. I can just see both of you.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens. Jim's going to claim this seat, so I'll move over there, and maybe I'll take Faye's seat one day and, do it from off camera. I don't know. Okay, we're going to do Isaiah 7 today. And last episode we talked about Isaiah chapter 6. We talked about sort of Isaiah's great commissioning moment and how he's going to be given this job to teach God's word, to share His word, which will largely harden his audience. And today we have some fun verses to get into today. Yeah. In fact, we talked about this verse way back in 2020 when we did a special Christmas episode about messianic prophecies.
First year?
I think so. Maybe it's 2021, but it was early. And so Isaiah 7, I think we should just jump right into it. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Which of you wants to take the lead?
Well, I did the last episode.
Okay.
So
Jim, why don't you take the lead for us on Isaiah chapter 7?
Hey, before we even get into this, Jim, why don't you mention your article that you wrote on this? Do you still like that article?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that article.
Yeah, I think it's
Where
called
is
The
it?
Virgin Will Conceive, the fulfillment of Isaiah 7:14 and Matthew 1:18 through 23. I think if you just put in
JimHamilton.info.
That's right, and then type in the search
Do you
bar.
still do that website?
I don't post.
Update it?
I don't post on it, but I put things that are published on there.
Okay. So you did a whole episode, a whole article on this. Okay.
It was published in a book called Built Upon the Rock.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
The chapter was.
It's very useful.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'd be great if we had a map, but we don't have a map. So I'm going to try to. I mean, we could. Yeah, I'll try to.
You should have told me. I would have made it happen.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm here to serve you.
We'll do what we can.
I thought we were going to get tablets that
Yeah,
have
it's complicated. I'm working on it. I have a meeting next week in which I will ask that.
Okay, so verse 1, in the days of Ahaz,
everybody
the son,
ask for tablets.
The son of
comments.
Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah. Okay, so Ahaz is king in Judah. We need to keep these people straight.
Okay, hang on. I have a question already. Chronologically, we were in the year King Uzziah died.
Right, that's 740 BC.
Now where are we? Are we going back in time, forward in time, basically the same time?
So the northern kingdom of Israel
Yep.
is destroyed in 721 BC.
Yep.
And this passage is going to talk about
it's a prophecy about that
the
happening.
coming of the king of Assyria to destroy the land of Syria and the northern kingdom of Israel, and that happens in 721 BC. Okay, so we're probably 3 to 5 years, I would guess, prior to 721
and
or 722.
Ahaz is the guy after Uzziah.
He's the son of Uzziah, that's
king
right.
of Judah.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
That's right, and then Hezekiah will follow him.
Yep.
Okay, so Rezin, the king of Syria. So this is where it would be nice to have a map. If we were looking at a map, we would see the southern kingdom of Judah, and then north of that, the northern kingdom of Israel, and then north of that, the land of Syria. Okay, so
Syria, Israel, Judah.
that's right.
Got it.
And then, so Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, the king of Israel. Okay, so Rezin's king up in Syria. Pekah is king in the northern kingdom of Israel, and Ahaz is king in Judah.
I don't remember much about Pekah. Bad guy, probably.
Yeah, he's a thug. I mean,
Yeah.
he's an Israelite who is joining together with the Syrians to take out the king from the line of David
right.
in Judah. So it's an
Pretty bad.
Israelite joining with Gentiles to fight other Israelites.
Got it.
It's not good. They came up to Jerusalem to wage war against it there in
Southern
verse 1.
Kingdom, Jerusalem. Yep.
That's right, but could not yet mount an attack against it. Okay, so in other words, these two kingdoms to the north, Syria and the northern kingdom of Israel, they're plotting against Judah.
Yep.
Verse 2, when the house of David was told.
South.
That's the southern kingdom of Judah. And that's talking about Ahaz. That's like when the White House learned, that means when the president got the message.
Got it.
Okay, so when Ahaz was told, essentially, Syria, way up in the north, is in league with Ephraim.
North.
Ephraim is one of the largest tribes in the northern kingdom, so sometimes the northern kingdom is referred to as Ephraim.
Yeah, so honestly, even that little walkthrough, it can be very confusing to just plop down and be like, who's
That's right.
Who are all the players?
Right.
What
You got it.
Who am I supposed to be rooting for?
Yeah.
Where are the threats?
It can be confusing
because Ephraim is not immediately intuitive unless you know your Bibles with the northern kingdom of Israel.
But I submit that if you read it carefully and you think closely about it, it's perspicuous.
Sure.
You can understand it.
Clear.
Also, if you just want to go read the narrative account of what's happening,
Second
Kings 16.
Yeah.
That's where you can find that.
Yeah.
So when the house of David was told, Syria is in league with Ephraim, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. In other words,
they're scared.
They're terrified.
It's interesting here, Jim, just to note once again the relationship between trees and the house of David and the people of Judah, not only in relation to Isaiah 6:13, but just the entire pattern of that relationship that we've seen throughout Scripture.
Yeah. Very good. Verse 3, and Yahweh said to Isaiah. Now, before I read on, I just want to kind of observe the broader context here. So in the immediate context, Isaiah has just been told the nation is about to go into exile. Okay? And we're gonna discern from this chapter that is not what Ahaz wants to hear. So for the nation to go into exile, this is Ahaz being told, you're about to be defeated in battle. You're going to be removed from the throne, and a bunch of your people are going to be slain, and the others are going to be carried off into exile. Ahaz wants to keep that from happening. Isaiah's message is going to be, the way to keep that from happening is for you to repent and get in line with the Torah and bring your life into obedience with Yahweh. Ahaz wants to keep it from happening by fighting off the enemy.
Yeah, he trusts in horses and chariots.
Exactly.
Not the Lord.
Exactly. So verse 3, Yahweh said to Isaiah, go out to meet Ahaz, you and Shear-Jashub, your son. And the name of the son means a remnant shall return. So the son's name implicitly declares we're going into exile.
And Ahaz is probably like a little on the nose there, Isaiah.
Yeah, and
to name your son that.
Yeah. And Isaiah's name means Yeshayahu means Yahweh saves.
Mm-hmm.
So Yahweh saves and a remnant shall return are now going to go out and confront Ahaz, who doesn't want to hear about Yahweh's salvation, and he doesn't want to hear about a remnant returning because he's trying to prevent the exile.
And I think it's important to keep both of those dynamics constantly in your mind in this text, because even when we get into the Emmanuel prophecy, you'll see this constant moving back and forth between salvation and judgment, and it can get a little perplexing.
Yeah.
You just have to recall that both of those elements are at play throughout the story.
This passage is both perspicuous and perplexing.
Yeah. Chapter 8, verse 18, Isaiah is going to say, I and the children whom Yahweh has given me are signs and portents in Israel.
Yeah.
And I think he's referring to the names of his kids, like a remnant shall return. Okay, so go out and meet Ahaz, you and Shear-Jashub, your son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool on the highway to the washer's field. Sam, you want to comment on this location?
No, I remember you commenting on this at one point.
So I think
what did you say?
I think there are two things going on here.
I thought for sure this phrase would go by without comment.
Really?
Here we go.
I mean,
I learned something.
In the historical situation, so there is no like naturally occurring well or spring in the city of Jerusalem. And until Hezekiah builds the tunnel, there's Hezekiah's tunnel, there's not a water source in Jerusalem. So at the historical level, Ahaz is probably concerned about a siege, and he's probably looking into how we're going to get water during this siege. Within the book of Isaiah, this is the very same location where the Rabshakeh comes to taunt the men of Hezekiah over in 36 through 39. And I think that Isaiah means for there to be a study and contrast between the way that Ahaz responds and the way Hezekiah responds.
Because it's like the next generation, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So Ahaz is going to respond in unbelief. Hezekiah is going to respond calling out for mercy and believing the Lord. So the Lord sends Isaiah and Sha'ar-Jashub there, verse 4, and say to him, be careful, be quiet, do not fear, and do not let your heart be faint because of these two smoldering stumps of firebrands.
Which are the kings of Syria and...
At the fierce anger of Rezin and Syria and the son of Remaliah. That's Pekah, king in the northern kingdom of Israel. So exactly right. These two kings. And now he's gonna explain what it is that they plan to do in verse 5. Because Syria with Ephraim, so these two northern powers, and the son of Remaliah, that's Pekah, has devised evil against you, saying, let us go up to Judah and terrify it, and let us conquer it for ourselves and set up the son of Tabil as king in the midst of it. So that's their plan. You know, if you're Ahaz and Sam is Rezin and I'm Pekah, we're planning to come in and remove you and put the son of Tabil
put Faye in charge.
Put her in as the puppet king because we can tell her what to do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yep. And what do you think? What do you think about that?
Over in chapter 8, I think when the Lord is going to say when Isaiah is going to say in 8:12, do not call conspiracy all that this people calls conspiracy, he's referring to that. You know, and he's telling them not to be afraid of this kind of thing.
Jim, I don't know if you looked this up. Is the language there of, let's see, verse 5? Two smoldering stumps. Is that the same language as verse 13? 6:13?
I don't think it's gonna be. I read chapter 6 carefully in Hebrew, and I have not yet gotten to chapter 7.
I'll see if I can pull it up.
Yeah,
it's longer, and
I was
you were wondering if we would do it.
I spent all Monday morning working on chapter 6.
Thank you.
And then,
Sincerely, thank you.
Yeah,
I don't say it lightly.
Chapter 7. Thus,
I wish Sam would do something like that.
Chapter 7. Thus says the Lord God, it shall not stand. Now, here's what I think God is saying here when he says it shall not stand and it shall not come to pass. I think this is like Psalm 2. As for me, I have set my king on Zion, my holy hill. Yeah. And I think
Nations
Isaiah...
are raging, but
exactly.
you've got nothing to worry about.
I think Isaiah is saying to Ahaz, hey man, you're the king from David's line. You're the heir of the promise of Genesis 3:15. You don't have anything to worry about. The Lord's going to defend you. Yeah. And Ahaz is just not interested in that. Now, so I think it shall not stand, it shall not come to pass, it is intended to evoke, Psalm 2, 4 and following. The one who sits enthroned in the heavens laughs. Then he will terrify them in his fury and say, as for me, so forth. I think it's also intended to evoke 2 Samuel 7, I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever.
You got nothing to worry about.
And now in verses 8 and 9, I think we've got evocations of Genesis 3:15.
Okay.
So
show me.
Verse 8, the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. So the capital city of Syria, the nation of Syria, is Damascus, and the king reigning in that capital city is Rezin. And Isaiah keeps using this head language. And then verse 8 continues, and within 65 years, Ephraim will be shattered from being a people. So it's like head, shattered.
That's not the same word for crushed, though?
No, it's a different word.
But conceptually synonymous.
That's right. And now we've got two more references to head in verse 9, and the head of Ephraim is Samaria, Samaria being the capital city of the northern kingdom of Israel, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah, Pekah, the son of Remaliah, being the king in Samaria over the northern kingdom of Israel. So it goes head, shattered, head. And, again, it's almost like Isaiah saying, hey, man, remember Genesis 3:15. And then he says, if you are not firm in faith, you will not be firm at all.
Let me just make a couple of comments about 8 and 9. You can see the structure of this basically follows an ABC, right?
8 and 9.
8 and 9, right? So you've got Syria with its capital, and then Rezin. And then you've got Ephraim with its capital of Samaria, with then the son of Remaliah. And I think I think that structure invites a couple of different things for us to notice. Number one, why this sequence leading from the nation to the capital city, then to the king or to the individual who leads? And I think what Isaiah is doing is he's showing the power structures of these two kingdoms. Yes, it's a nation, but really the power of that nation is its capital city. But really, what's at the heart of that capital city? It's a single individual. It's one man, right? So it's showing that the power structure of these two kingdoms is basically triangular, and at the top is just a mortal human being. And you compare that to Isaiah chapter 2 and the way that the Lord condemns the pridefulness of man and shows how he's going to bring judgment against men. But also, what it does is I think it calls to mind the fact that Israel or Judah has a power structure that's inverted. It's an upside down triangle. Because who is it that is ultimately at the top of Israel? Well, it's Yahweh, right? Think of Isaiah chapter 6. In the year that King Uzziah dies, who is it that Isaiah sees? Well, he sees the King of heaven and earth, right? In his own glorious palace temple. So I think one of the things that Isaiah is doing here is he is reducing, he's making an argument to Ahaz that, look, you need to reduce the power of these nations to what they actually are. At the end of the day, there is only a mortal man who kind of sits as the head of these nations, whereas we have Yahweh on our side. Also, you have this, I think it invites, this A, B, C, it invites comparison between the A sections, the B sections, and the C sections. And, the first, at the end of chapter 8, within 65 years, Ephraim will be shattered from being a people. What does the 65 years refer to? It's not entirely clear because Assyria defeats the northern kingdom before 65 years is up. I think instead it's something like this. It might be a reference to the king of Assyria settling foreign peoples in the region of the northern kingdom. As one commentator put it, at that point, those who at that point, those deported after the fall of Samaria were bereft of a land to return to, and thus finally ceased as a sovereign people. But I also think it draws attention to the end of 9, right? So Ephraim's going to be shattered from being a people, and then at the end of 9, the invitation in light of the Lord's judgment. If you're not firm in faith, you will not be firm at all. So once again, focusing on the interior heart posture of Ahaz, he needs to not do certain things, but he needs to believe in the Lord and he needs to trust him. And I think this repetition of the word firm, I believe in Hebrews this word aman, is the same language of 2 Samuel 7:16, which talks about the throne of David being established forever. So I think even within this invitation to faith, he's echoing the language of the Davidic covenant in order to draw his attention back to the word of God and the promises of God that the Lord's going to establish the house of David.
Yeah, I would throw in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 20 here, where at the end of that verse, it's asserted, believe in the Lord your God and you will be established. Believe his prophets, and you will succeed. And, it's almost, that's not spoken to Ahaz in 2 Chronicles 20, but it's a very similar statement to what we have in Isaiah 7, verse 9.
So you guys have been like riffing and joyously so, like, man, this guy just needs to trust God's promises, trust God's promises, trust God's promises, trust God's promises. And Ahaz, his response, we'll just say it's quite different than yours. So how does he respond, Jim?
So verse 10, again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz, ask a sign of Yahweh your God, let it be deep as Sheol or high as heaven.
Which is already him accommodating to Ahaz's like kind of lack of trust, I think. But
Yeah. It's almost like he's saying, hey, if you don't believe me,
I'll
ask
prove
for
it.
a sign and let it be confirmed. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test. So, it's like he's quoting the Bible to justify his disobedience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's not saying I trust you. He's
Right.
Yeah, that's I didn't catch that as I studied. That's a real
it's
smarmy response.
it's pious looking rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Isaiah sees right through it. Isaiah says, hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary men that you weary my God also? Now, before we keep reading, I want to suggest the biblical background that provides the context for what Isaiah is about to say. Okay?
Got it.
Okay, so starting in Genesis 3, Satan initiates this temptation that results in sin, that results in the usurpation of God's creation. And the man and the woman have been told, in the day you eat of the tree, you will surely die. So when they hear the sound of him walking in the garden, they hide themselves because they believe he's about to kill us. And then, to their surprise, the Lord says to the serpent, I'll put enmity between you and the woman and between your seed and her seed. And it's almost like God speaks the promise of the seed of the woman into the face of the sin and death that Satan has brought into the world. So it's kind of like God's response to the serpent and his rebellion is, okay, a baby's going to be born. And then you continue through Genesis, and the Lord makes this promise to Abraham, and he's basically saying, here's how I'm going to retake the world. And the promise is, to your seed, I will give this land, Genesis 12, verse 7. And Abraham's old, and his wife is barren, and they don't have any children. Then you keep going, and Isaac gets born. Isaac gets married to Rebekah, and just like Sarah, Rebekah is barren. And the birth of the sons of Isaac, Jacob and Esau, is promised that life's going to continue. And then Jacob marries Rachel, and Rachel is barren. So you keep having the births of these children keep signaling that the Lord is with his people to deliver them. And then eventually, I think at the birth of Moses, you get another installment in this. As we noted, I think, when we were in Exodus 2, his mother saw that he was good, which is, I think, an allusion to Genesis 1.
In that context, it's not barrenness that's the obstacle, but like the threat of quite literally the threat of the serpent.
Yeah, that's right.
Where Pharaoh's trying to kill him.
Yeah, that's right.
All babies.
Yeah, that's right. The male children of Israel.
So still obstacles,
exactly.
though not barrenness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you keep going, and eventually you get Samson born, and it's another remarkable birth that signifies that God is with his people. And then you get Samuel born from Hannah. And so you get a series across the Old Testament of these remarkable births that mean God is going to save the world. God is with his people to deliver them.
And those births have shown that God is sovereign over life and death.
Exactly.
Right? So by reversing the barrenness of all the women you named, he's showing it's a kind of resurrection.
Yes.
Right.
So I think that in what Isaiah says in Isaiah 7:14, he's making an installment in a typological pattern, and it's a pattern that involves God's people being threatened, and God's answer to the threat is the birth of the seed of promise. And we've seen that in the initial seed of the woman promise, and then the birth of Seth, everybody from Abel to Seth to Isaac, Jacob, the sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin, Samson and Samuel in particular, but also Moses and other figures as well. Okay, so
but it tweaks the formula in a shocking way.
Well, I think even here I'm not sure what you're alluding to. Maybe the Emmanuel part. Is that what you're alluding to?
No.
Oh, the virgin part.
Yeah. Well, that's right.
No. Let's come back to that.
No.
In Isaiah 7 and 8. Hang on.
I don't even know what you're talking about. You don't believe in the virgin birth?
No. No, I absolutely believe in the virgin birth. There's also a double installment of this pattern in Isaiah 7 and 8. So in other words,
don't give it away yet.
I know, but what we're going to see happen in Isaiah 7 with Emmanuel, it's like the same sequence happens in Isaiah 8 with Maher Shalal Hashbaz. So to kind of prefigure where we're going, we've got this pattern of these remarkable births that's a series of installments in a typological pattern that says, God, to use the language of Psalm 8, out of the mouths of babes and infants you have established strength to still the enemy and the avenger. That's this remarkable birth pattern. Here's Isaiah 7. It's an installment in that pattern. Here's Isaiah 8. Here's another installment in this pattern. And now, at the end of Isaiah 8, it's like we get gloom and darkness of exile, and then the light starts dawning in Isaiah 9, and then the child is born. And I think it's kind of like type, and then here's the one in Isaiah 9. You see what I'm saying? Isaiah 7 is an installment in the typological pattern. Isaiah 8 is an installment in the typological pattern.
Right,
and then
Isaiah 9 I have more questions,
prophesies the child.
Carry on.
Yeah. What's super interesting as well, Jim.
You guys just like jumped at me when I was, the virgin birth. You're like, whoa, idiot.
What I think is interesting as well, Jim, is as you mentioned at the end of the last episode, the relationship between men and trees that goes all the way back to Genesis. And the idea at the end of 6:13, where the holy seed is its stump, and then we get all of these accounts of these remarkable births.
Yeah, you think you're talking about tree seed,
right? But it's human seed.
Yeah,
that is that the Lord is ultimately pointing to, and because we get an account in 7, and then in 8, and in 9 about these messianic births.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, 7:14. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign.
Ahaz.
Yeah. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.
I celebrate Christmas. Do you celebrate Christmas?
Absolutely.
I don't know. I wasn't sure if you're like a Puritan or something.
No.
So every Christian ever, most Christians have been like, yeah, that's about Jesus.
Well, in a typological way.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a typological way. So let's read the next two verses.
Please.
So actually, verse 15, you really need verses 21 and 22 to understand verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to skip down and read Isaiah 7, 21 and 22.
And then reverse.
And then come back to verse 15.
That's fine.
Okay, so in the intervening verses, the king of Assyria comes through, and he kills a bunch of Israelites, and he carries a bunch off into
prophesied
exile.
judgment.
And then in verse 21, in that day a man will keep alive a young cow and 2 sheep, and because of the abundance of milk that they give, he will eat curds and honey. For everyone who is left in the land will eat curds and honey.
We just extracted from context. That sounds like a positive thing.
Well,
because it's like,
yeah.
ooh, land of milk and honey.
Yeah.
But this is, just so we're clear, is a piece of the judgment.
It's like, okay, the Lord is going to use the king of Assyria to depopulate the land, and there are going to be so few people left that they're going to have an abundance. Yeah. They're going to have curds and honey.
Well, and let me make a comment about the land flowing with milk and honey. I think what's going on there is, where is it that you get milk from? Well, you get it from cows, and you get it from goats. You get it from grazing.
Almonds. Oats. I mean, let's not be prejudicial.
I don't know if they had that kind of milk back then.
Maybe in our weird little society, but not back then. All right. So you get cheese.
I really cracked myself up. All right, sorry.
You get milk and curds and cheese from these animals, and these animals graze in land that has not been cleared for agricultural purposes. They graze in wildlands. You get honey also from bees, and bees live in forested areas. Again, uncultivated lands, wildlands. So the idea here going on in verse 21 and 22 is that the Assyrians are going to come in and they're going to raise Israel's agricultural industry. And the only thing that's going to be left are these wildlands. So the only type of food that Israel's going to be producing is food that comes from the wildlands, namely what you get from grazing animals and what you get, honey, what you get basically from bees.
Basically, you don't have to have good soil to get milk.
That's right.
And honey.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, I do obviously a land flowing with milk and honey is a positive sign. It's a good thing because it does show that there is some fertility to the land and that there is food to be found there. But in this context, it's a return. Excuse me. I keep hitting your microphone, Jim. So sorry. I got to get used to this new chair. It's a return to the uncultivated state of the land, the destruction of their agricultural industry.
Okay, so I'm going to read the end of 7:14 and then 15.
Okay, please.
Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Verse 15, he, that's Emmanuel, shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. For, verse 16, before the boy, that's Emmanuel, knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose 2 kings you dread will be deserted. All right, so the land whose 2 kings Ahaz dreads, that's the northern kingdom of Israel, and above that, Syria. Those 2 lands are going to be deserted because in verse 17, the Lord's going to bring the king of Assyria against them. And so, verse 16, before the boy knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the king of Assyria is coming in to wipe out those 2 kingdoms to the north. And as a result, verse 15.
Wait, that's right, because we have Syria and Israel, not Assyria.
You have,
got it.
Assyria is kind of over to the east.
Got it.
Assyria.
Syria, Israel, Judah.
Correct.
Assyria.
Correct.
Right. Now, Assyria, who I think
really
at this time
varied the names a little bit more.
At this time is under the reign of Tiglath-Pileser III, or Pul. He is the one that Ahaz is looking to in order for help. So that's the one that he is,
which we read about in 2 Kings.
That he's setting his hope in. Yeah.
Okay, so verse 15, he shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. So I'm not sure what age that is exactly, but before he gets to that age, if Syria and Ephraim, the northern kingdom of Israel and Syria, they're going to be wiped out by Assyria. Okay,
which happened in 722.
Which happened in
20,
722 BC.
21.
Which leads me to say this kid that's going to be named Emmanuel has to be born in the immediate future.
Yeah, it can't be Jesus.
It can't. Isaiah can't be looking 700 years into the future because Syria and Ephraim don't last that long. Which also leads me to say
the virgin doesn't mean what I thought it meant.
That maybe there's a woman who's present on the day when Isaiah gives this prophecy, and she's a virgin and she's about to get married. And Isaiah says the virgin will conceive. And I think Isaiah intends to communicate that woman is going to conceive the same way that every woman has ever conceived. She's going to get married.
So
her husband is they're going to consummate the relationship. Now,
I understand
that. Now that, I think that relieves us of the difficulty of fighting over what that word Emmanuel or what the word virgin means in this text.
You're saying the contextual details that flow after make it impossible for it to mean...
Because there's actually a Hebrew term that means virgin, and then there's another Hebrew term that means like young woman of marriageable age, and it seems to be used in contexts that indicate that this is not always a woman who has not yet experienced the consummation of a wedding. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but doesn't... I can't believe I know this, but the Septuagint...
The Greek translation renders that Hebrew word Parthenos,
that's
virgin.
Right. You're saying us,
but still, I think we don't have to be bothered. We don't have to try to bend over backwards to prove that other Hebrew term must mean virgin. I think that's irrelevant
because you're saying the contextual details just make it obvious that it's talking about someone born in the next decade.
Yes, exactly. And then Matthew tells us that Joseph did not know Mary until after Jesus was born. So Matthew tells us she's a virgin. That's fine. That's good. That settles it. We don't need to establish this Greek or this Hebrew word, which doesn't appear to mean virgin. We don't have to try to prove that it means virgin.
So you're saying there's not much at stake.
Yeah, that's right. I think
we should stop quoting this at Christmas.
I'm not saying
we should absolutely quote it at Christmas because it's quoted in Matthew 1:23. But we need to understand it. There is a meaning within its historical context, and then there's an escalated typological fulfillment that happens in Matthew.
Essentially, the long soliloquy that Jim had a moment ago, which sounded like a negative. I didn't actually mean that as negative, but when you sort of set us up before you read verse 14, which was excellent.
The births.
You're saying Matthew basically did the same mental logic.
Yeah.
And that's why he used the verse.
He's saying Isaiah's doing the same mental logic.
Right. And then Matthew is also.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would add that they don't name Jesus literally Emmanuel, right? They name him Jesus.
Yeah.
So he's not, in other words.
But he is God.
Right, no doubt. And I think Matthew means an inclusio between Emmanuel and lo, I'm with you always.
Yep.
Okay, so here, I think that they're naming this child God is with us because of the way that the birth of these children signifies God is with his people to deliver them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm good. I'm tracking.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So Jim, just to help clarify what you're getting at there with the meaning of the word virgin, there is this long-standing debate within Old Testament scholarship about the meaning of this Hebrew word, which I believe is alma.
Yeah.
And whether it means a virgin, whether it means young woman, whether it means young maiden. And what you're suggesting is, look, at the end of the day,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because Isaiah is speaking from the perspective pointing to a woman who is a virgin at the time of his speaking.
That's right.
And then that woman is going to conceive through normal means. Matthew picks up on this typological pattern using Isaiah, but there's an escalation between the Old Covenant and the New, because in the New Covenant, the child to be born isn't just born to a woman who's a virgin at the time that the prophecy is given. She's a virgin at the time of
the birth,
conception, and delivery.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's not even that barrenness has been reversed. It's almost like life just springs from life.
Yeah.
Because God can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, so here's a text, Proverbs 30, verses 18 and 19, where this same word is used. And the ESV actually renders it virgin, even though it's not the word that technically means virgin.
It's the same word here. It's the same word here in 7:14.
Exactly. So Proverbs 30, verse 18, 3 things are too wonderful for me, 4 I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky. And I would just note that an eagle, it's almost like he swims or he moves through, he cuts through the sky. The way of a serpent on a rock. And again, the serpent moves through. It's like he's moving on the rock. The way of a ship on the high seas cutting through the waters. The way of a man with a virgin. And I think you get the same kind of moving through thing. So I would say we shouldn't use the word virgin there because I think he has in view the consummation of the marital relationship. Yeah.
Okay, so are we done?
No, I
We've
think
got
we
some
should
text
read.
left,
Yeah, we should read some more of these verses. Okay, so
Let's do it.
So verse 17, the Lord will bring upon you and upon your people and upon your father's house such days as have not come from since the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, the king of Assyria. So he's coming.
So let me just make a comment here. We've got 15. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. Now, as Jim noted, we don't know the exact time of when this is, but the idea is that at some point in the future, this child is going to be living in an uncultivated land. Verse 16 is positive. Now, before that happens, the Lord is going to bring judgment against the northern kingdom of Ephraim and also Syria. But then verse 17 is again negative. The Lord's going to bring upon you and upon your house the king of Assyria, essentially to judge you. So even though Emmanuel is a positive sign of the Lord being with his people, there is both salvation and judgment present. Verse 16 represents salvation. Verses 15 and 17 represent judgment.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm content, Alex, if you
Well,
want.
we all we've got left is 23 through 25, right?
Yeah,
Which
and
is-
really
which
what
is
that
just
describes.
it's more judgment about more.
It basically says, what Sam was saying about the uncultivated land. It's essentially saying this place where you used to have this nice vineyard, that's going to be destroyed by the Assyrians, and it's going to be a wilderness, and people are going to go there to hunt.
Okay, so you said this section 7, 8, and 9, or
Yep.
maybe 6, 8, 7, 8, 9,
Yeah.
has 3 births that
Well,
get talked about.
I mean, I think you've
And
got
so-
Emmanuel in 7:14.
So we talked about him,
And then we're going to have Maher Shalal Hashbaz in 8.
which is just Isaiah's son, right? No, a king's son.
Yeah,
Who is
yeah,
it?
he's going to be Isaiah's son. That's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
And then 9 is
9
the-
is for unto us a child is born.
Yeah.
So what I'm suggesting is,
there's an internal escalation.
yes, Emmanuel is an installment in the pattern. Maher Shalal Hashbaz is an installment in the pattern, and then Isaiah 9:6 is prophesying the fulfillment of the pattern. The
Jesus. Yeah.
the antitype, the
So,
culmination.
and what
of
you're
the
saying,
pattern.
again, just getting a little bit into what we're already going to talk about, or going to talk about, is Isaiah means for Isaiah 9 to not be fulfilled in his life.
Yeah, I think.
Whereas he
he's-
did not mean
yeah,
for 7 and 8 to be.
yeah. The context of 7,
Got
it's
it.
clear. This
it's
is
helpful to.
immediate future.
It's a 3-dimensional way to think about biblical prophecy. In other words, it's not merely and miraculously fulfilled in the future. There's 2 steps to it at times.
Well, I do want to just
right?
add.
Right? Is that?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do want to just add, because I think this is important. Yes, Isaiah intends for his prophecy in Isaiah 7 to be understood as something that's going to have fulfillment in his own time. Otherwise, what significance would it have to Ahaz and
Sure.
to the Ephraimites and the Syrians?
Well, and the details
Assyria
wouldn't
and
make
all of
any
that?
sense. Yeah.
However, I think what Jim's pointing out are the types of exegetical evidence you want to look for within a book to establish whether something is being presented to us in a typological way. So obviously, Isaiah is picking up on older patterns that are in biblical history, which Jim laid out for us, basically from Genesis 3 through Abraham and Isaac and so forth. But then what he's doing is he's building off of this same pattern in 8 and in 9, showing us that what he's saying in Isaiah 7, intended for his own historical context, is also at the same time an eschatological type of what he's going to do in the future.
Yeah.
So if you asked Isaiah, is this for us now or is this about the future? His answer would be yes. And we know that's the case because of the relationship between 7, 8, and 9.
This is a tricky
So
question
that
to
means
answer.
Matthew is not misusing this passage when
Yeah,
he quotes
got
it in Matthew 1:23. He's reading it according to the authorial intent.
Amen.
A question that would be difficult to answer. That it doesn't mean that Isaiah believed that the Messiah would be virgin born. It right.
So-
that is a, for lack of a better
I mean,
word,
this
a
is-
surprise, a kind of
well,
new covenant.
maybe. I mean,
escalated surprise, because there is no precedent for that in the Old Testament.
well, I think
for that particular.
I think it's possible. And here I've been stimulated by my friend Tom Sculthorpe, and he will point out that often when seed is discussed, seed is what the man brings to the union that results in conception. And so why did the Lord indicate to the serpent that it would be the seed of the woman? I think you could make a case that even from Genesis, in Genesis 5, it's the man who's doing the begetting, and he's doing the begetting by delivering the seed. And then in Leviticus 15, when a man this is what the text literally says, when a man has a lying down of seed with his wife, it makes him unclean until evening. In other words, when they consummate their marital relationship, he delivers the seed in that relationship. So what does it mean for this to be a seed of the woman? I mean, I think you could make the case that it means this is going to be a child born without a man delivering seed. Somehow the seed's it's a seed of the woman, So
only the woman.
Yeah, and so depending on whether this is the way Isaiah thought about it, he could think that even as he expects this woman to conceive the way that all other women typically conceive, and this child's going to be born in the immediate future, and we're making installments in this pattern that's going to culminate in the child that's going to come after exile. I mean, I think Isaiah clearly knows the Messiah is going to be born after the exile.
Sure.
I want to say one other comment before we conclude. Verse 23, in that day, every place where there used to be 1,000 vines worth 1,000 shekels of silver will become briars and thorns. With bow and arrows, a man will come there, for all the land will be briars and thorns. Verse 25, and as for all the hills that used to be hoed with a hoe, again, this destruction of the agricultural industry, you will not come there for fear of briars and thorns, but they will become a place where cattle are let loose and where sheep tread. And so here again is yet more evidence from within the Old Testament that Israel is being presented to us as a new Adam. Canaan is being presented to us as a new Eden. And just as Adam's story ends in failure, so Israel's story ends in failure. The garden is once again being, decimated, and briars and thorns are coming up in the place of the garden.
And in Isaiah 27:1, the Lord's going to punish Leviathan and slay the dragon. And then in verse 4, he's going to say, would that I had thorns and briars to battle. Isaiah 27:4.
Well, we'll get there
in
a few weeks. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Psalm 111, verse 2, great are the works of the Lord, studied by all who delight in them.
For more articles, books, and podcasts, please visit 9marks.org.